cold. The piercing, sharp cold that made my entire body feel like it was on fire. That is the last sensation that I remember from before my body was taken away from me. I find it quite poetic nowadays that the world itself seemed to give me the same type of icy reception as its inhabitants. They are right to fear my power, now that they have made the enemy myself. While cold is all that I remember, I still have some fight and pain. I usually hate to rely on robots. Let's leave this pathetic hobby to Giro, but I must admit, Cochin might be one of the more handy inventions outside of my main field of interest that I have created. Originally, I intended for him to be somewhat of an inside joke between myself and I. With my masterful bioengineering skills, I had managed to base his outside look on a certain departed individual who dared question my scientific methods. How ironic that he is going to live forever through my creation. This crumbling, drooling man is the biggest example of what really holds science back. Short-minded fools that are too afraid to push the boundaries. That's why I programmed Cochin with no regard to such frivolities. He was created with one goal alone, serving his master. And I must say, I did not expect him to develop such wonderful curiosity akin to my own. I was not aware that a machine could have ideas, but his biowarrior's suggestions have been rather intriguing. Still, if my creation had a good idea, wouldn't that also classify as my idea by proxy? Obviously, the initial designs were very unrefined, but together, we have figured things out in a rather effective manner. I must also give myself credit for programming a lot of useful skills in coaching, which ultimately saved my life. When it became apparent that my body was failing, he was the one to do most of the work. But, yet again, I have myself to thank for making it this way. Losing my body was not a pleasant experience, I can assure you. But it could have been much, much worse. Cochin has to become more than my tools. He has to become my eyes and hands if we wish to reverse my unfortunate state. I am fully convinced that it is not only possible, but inevitable. If the world plans to test me, then so be it. I will break every law and bend to my will. If society shuns me, then I shall create my own. Not that I want to replace them with robots, but the biowarriors, well, they are a good start. There is some basic beauty about Kishime's design. It is almost too simple to be functional, but at the end of the day, I do not mind. I wasn't very interested in how it would look, but it seems that Cochin might have taken some inspiration from the legends of King Piccolo, a mythical demonic entity who, apparently centuries ago, waged a terrible war against the entirety of humanity. And people were surprised when I said that we need to evolve as a species. Anyway, legendary demons aside, fictitious ones in my honest opinion, I am rather happy when it comes to Kishime's results. His ability to project electricity is very conducive. Maybe it might sound boring, but we have spent hours watching fish that produce electricity, dissecting some specimens that we had available in my laboratory. While a well-timed shock from an eel could in theory kill a human being, that was simply not enough. I do not require or need half measures. We made him relatively small and fast, so the body would not tire too quickly, but we were very happy with the end result. Think about field cases for such soldiers. This prototype would save the Red Ribbon Army very much so, should they accept my offer and not that hack Dr. Giro. Well, they will be the last ones to laugh, as their hapless troops would prove to be a perfect training ground, fodder for Kishime and his brothers. While he was the first, he certainly was not the strongest. While I honestly despise the cold, there is an uneasy kinship that I feel with it. After all, it surrounds me, trying to bury me forever in this icy tomb. But I am not going to bow down to any. I am the one who bends them. And what better way to do so than to infuse our second creation with the power of cold itself? Obviously, there are limitations, but I wanted Furia to be something more than just Kishime, but infused with ice. I wished him to be smarter, possibly the smartest of the batch. Cochin was skeptical about giving him the ability to actually speak in tongue, but in combat situations, we could have someone that could give orders in our place. Furia's mind is nothing to write a thesis about. He can communicate, provide insight on the situation, and order the other organisms around. He is also able to instinctually tactical analysis on a basic level. We do not wish them to be too smart, of course. We are the ones who are smart here. These are meant to be prototypes of foot soldiers. We ran some tests, and he does appear to work rather well with Kishime. The more limited electric organism seems to accept his leadership without question during simulated tests. That is good. The only issue I have is that this privileged position might have made him a little overconfident. An interesting trait for an artificially created entity, especially since he might be considered weaker than Kishime in terms of brute power. Yet again, I sense that same arrogance in Cochin as well, and they do differ in terms of their organic and non-organic nature. So, maybe I have encountered some limitations in terms of programming minds? Curious, and worth further examination. But for now, there are more pressing matters at hand. Returning to basics, but with some sort of expansiveness, quite literally. What would be an ideal soldier? Something that every commander would want to have in his arsenal? The answer is simple. Indestructible warriors that follow your every command. Initially, Cochin and myself, well, we had doubts about the form of this final organism. After all, what shape should it have? It quickly occurred to us that if we were going to make this entity truly immune to all types of damage, the size should no longer be a limit. After all, the larger frame could be an unexpected asset in our cause. The amount of wasted ammo would be quite substantial as well, as I'm sure that a lot of enemies would start turning their weapons onto the largest threat, but that was simply not enough. Though impressive in theory, Misokatsu needed more than just being a live shield. No, he needed to return the favor. The flexibility had to be, pardon the pun, stretched to its absolute limits. And it worked. I don't think anyone born on this planet could even dream of hurting Misokatsu. But these abilities meant that we had to tone down his intelligence. After all, he is potentially the most dangerous of the three. For now, he doesn't seem to mind following orders in the pecking order that the three have received. He is compliant. A good boy. As the first batch, this trio has proven to be quite effective. The thing that fills me with pride the most is the fact that we have cracked a code on what the superstitious common folk tend to call ki. During my studies of living organisms, I was rather shocked to discover that it isn't merely some sort of old wives' tale, but an actual phenomena that can be replicated. The life force was real, and I was even able to invent scanners that allowed me to read it out from my own eyes. But this is just the beginning. For our bio-warriors to work, to really work, we needed them to be able to harness it as well. This was, so far, the most challenging element of the entire project. Giving them the ability to reach for this power greatly helped in developing their other abilities once we succeeded. I am also convinced that different people possess different latent potential, and if I were to, let's say, acquire a specimen with a rather high count for such a life force, it would be beneficial for me to keep it as a possible host for my magnificent mind. With bio-warriors, we have proven that harnessing ki with the assistance of science is not only possible, but it feels like a natural step forward in our glorious evolution. Speaking of evolution, there are some half measures that we have to deal with first. I must admit, I would prefer something small, but it has to be compatible with all the equipment that I possess here in the laboratory. In a way, I feel that its own existence allows me to evolve, despite not possessing most of my organs. I have modified myself to be able to perceive ki. That is a weird sensation, to say the least. And Cochin was originally against such moves, warning me about the risks. It is the first time I actually saw him concerned about such matters, which only proves that I have programmed him well, and he is rather devoted in serving me. So, at least he works as intended. As for the armor, I need it to be the most secure invention that we have ever made. Maybe in the future I will be able to change it into something more sleek, but for now, beggars can most certainly not be choosers. I am especially proud of the blast beams, as they seem to be quite potent. I do refrain myself from testing them out on the bio-warriors, as I could cause them great damage and our work on them would have been rendered moot. And now that they are ready, we would rather keep them functional, fully. There is also something unnerving about that singular red eye. Cochin's idea, of course. It is purely decorative, as my way of perceiving the world has expanded past mere human sensations such as vision. Yet it has grown on me a little bit, become a part of who I am right now. Who knows? Once I acquire a new body, I may wish to integrate it into the new form in some way. The end goal would be, of course, to make the host look more like my original self, but that would take some time. While this is far from a perfect situation, as the ice is starting to encase my fortress, I am trying to find as much comfort and security in this situation as I humanly can. That is, if I am still human. I have slept for long, way too long. Cochin has told me stories about the world. The fall of the Red Ribbon Army in Jiro's dream, the rise of the Demon King. He was rather excited about that one. And the invasion of people from space. While why this invasion ended has been unclear to me, Cochin has acquired a rather interesting sample that we could use. Oh yes, I almost forgot. The ice is gone, which means our little laboratory is fully operational once again. We have established that the only human being even capable of feats such as stopping an alien invasion is none other than Lieutenant Roshi, also using the moniker of Jackie Chun. This individual seems to be centuries old, which may indicate that he has unlocked secrets to eternal life as well, which makes him even more valuable. He has been credited with opposing King Piccolo during his first appearance, and had lived long enough to tell the tale and witness the second. He also has impressive students named Son Goku, Krillin, Yamcha, Tenshinhan. Not that their names matter, and while all of them would be plausible candidates, why settle for mere students when I can have the body of their master, an immortal master? I have ordered Cochin to bring this man to me. If I want to represent humanity's next step in evolution, my brilliance might not be enough. In addition to being the smartest entity on Earth, I would also have to be the world's strongest.